Hi students, this is Atma Prakash, your teacher for the subject English. You all know from my last classes that the prose piece standing up for yourself presents the author's gradual self-development, gradual self-improvement from weakness to strength. This is a lesson which teaches us not to brood over weakness, but to put efforts for generating strength. This is a lesson which teaches us not to brood over weakness, but to put efforts for generating strength. In our last session, we were informed that everyone was afraid of Red. Everyone was afraid of Red because he carried a metal knuckle duster in his pocket. The author was also no exception. He was also afraid of Red. With this much previous knowledge, let us move to Unit 3 of Standing Up for Yourself. The beginning paragraph of third unit is now flashing on your screen. Please go through it. If you have your textbook, you can refer it. If not, then you can watch it on the screen also. But read with me. I wanted to conquer my fear of Red, so I wrote a poem about him. This was my first piece of journalism in verse. By the next day, the whole street knew it by heart and exulted with triumphant hatred. Once again, I am reading, then we will go to its explanation. I wanted to conquer my fear of Red, so I wrote a poem about him. This was my first piece of journalism in verse. By the next day, the whole street knew it by heart and exulted with triumphant hatred. The writer wanted to overcome his fear for Red. Students, this was the intention of the writer. The writer wanted to overcome his fear for Red. He wanted to drive out his sense of fear for Red. He wanted to defeat his fears. He wanted to dispel his fears for Red. Therefore, he wrote a poem about Red, satirizing him, caricaturing him, mocking him. Then, what happened to that poem? In your language, I will tell that poem went viral. People loved it like anything. Every person of the street loved that poem. The whole street knew it by heart. Student, please mark the expression know by heart. When we say we know something by heart, it means we have learned the thing so well that we can say it from memory. When we learn something so well that we can say it from memory, then we use this expression, know by heart. And all the people in the street knew the poem by heart. In the same passage, it is further told that the whole street exulted with triumphant hatred. It means the whole street showed great pleasure, great joy as their hatred or disgust for Red owned the grounds. But students, this jubilation, this joy, this pleasure did not last long. The author had to face the fierce anger, wrath of red. The author had to face the anger of red for poking fun at him. Red was a vicious character, and now the poet has poked fun at him. So I would like to say that the author was now destined to face the fierce anger of red for poking fun at him. One day, when the author was on his way to school, when he was going to school, he was stopped by Red. Red stopped him. The encounter between Red and the author is described in the second paragraph of the text in the third unit. Let us read the paragraph. The exact words of the text are. Please read with me if you have your textbook. One morning on my way to school, I suddenly came upon Red and his lieutenants. His eyes seemed to bore through me. Ah, the poet, he drawled, smiling crookedly. So you write verses. Do they rhyme? Please mark some of the expressions in the paragraph. His eyes seemed to bore through me. He drawled, smiling crookedly. All these expressions highlight the villainous behavior of Red. These expressions, like his eyes, seemed to bore through me. He drawled, smiling crookedly. All these expressions highlight the villainous character of Red, the villainous behavior of Red. His eyes seemed to bore through me, suggest a long and fierce stare which will make someone uncomfortable. His eyes seem to bore through me means the author got a threatening, angry look. In other words, Red stared angrily at the writer. And what about the word drawl? While speaking, when the vowel sounds are made longer, we call it drawling. Red used a drawling voice to evoke fear in the writer. He drawled, "Ah, the poet," and smiled crookedly. It means he smiled dishonestly. He smiled slyly, which indicates evil in his mind. The crooked smile of Red is then followed by an interrogation. Red menacingly, threateningly interrogates the poet whether his verses rhyme or not. Afterwards, Red suddenly and violently strikes at the head of the writer. The last paragraph of this unit describes the violent attack. All of you please look at the screen and read the said paragraph. The last paragraph of this unit is a lengthy one. Hence, I have divided it into two parts, and I will explain the parts serially. Now, carefully, mindfully read the following lines from the text. The lines are visible on the screen. Red's hand darted into his pocket and came out armed with its knuckle duster. It flashed like lightning and struck my head. I fell down streaming with blood and lost consciousness. This was my first remuneration as a poet. Once again, I am reading it for better understanding. Listen the reading mindfully. Red's hand darted into his pocket and came out armed with its knuckle duster. It flashed like lightning and struck my head. I fell down streaming with blood and lost consciousness. This was my first remuneration as a poet. Students, these lines describe the violent attack of Red on author. The ruffian, the gunda, the hoodlum gave a fire strike, a strong blow at the head of the author. In this criminal activity, Red used his most dreaded weapon, the metal knuckle duster. In the words of the writer, it flashed like lightning and struck my head. It means the metal knuckle duster appeared like lightning and gave a severe blow to the writer. The writer was in all blood and lost consciousness. Blood started streaming and he lost his consciousness. At this point, the writer feels that as a poet, he earned this bloodbath and ferocious head strike for his first poem. He thinks perhaps this is the remuneration, this is the prize, this is the appreciation for the poem. In the words of the author, this was my first remuneration as a poet. Now, students, read the last part of the said paragraph. If you have textbooks, then go to the last paragraph. If not, then please refer the writings that is appearing on the screen. I spent several days in bed. When I went out, with my head still bandaged, I again saw red. I struggled with myself, but lost and took to my heels. At home, I rolled on my bed, biting my pillow and pounding it in shame and impotent fury at my cowardice. I made up my mind to vanquish it at whatever cost. Please read this paragraph once again. I spent several days in bed. When I went out with my head still bandaged, I again saw red. I struggled with myself, but lost and took to my heels. At home, I rolled on my bed, biting my pillow and pounding it in shame and impotent fury at my cowardice. I made up my mind to vanquish it at whatever cost. This part of the passage sketches the writer's reactions and responses after his traumatic encounter, distressing encounter, upsetting encounter with Red and his lieutenants. Yes, the encounter was really traumatic. And then what mental reactions are surfacing in the minds of the writer that is sketched in this paragraph. The author was bedridden for several days. His head was in bandage. Meanwhile, the author again saw Red. The moment he saw Red, fear crept in him. Fear overpowered him. He failed to face Red. He took to his heels. It means the author ran away from the place. The author's such reaction was definitely cowardly. He was not brave enough to face the ruffian. And this thing distressed the author. Now the author was deeply distressed at his own cowardice. Such spinelessness was intolerable to the author. These things are best revealed when the author mentions, "At home I rolled on my bed, biting my pillow and pounding it in shame and impotent fury at my cowardice." In this part of the passage, there are some learning points. For example, take to one's heels. This is an idiom. Students are expected to learn its meaning and use. The meaning of this idiom is to flee, to run away. Take to one's heels means to flee, to run away. If I give you the Hindi equivalent, you can better understand. No do gyara, ho jana. That is, take to one's heels. It means to flee or to run away from a place. Similarly, the phrases or words like impotent fury and vanquish are worth consideration. Impotent fury means powerless anger or futile anger. The author had the bitterest feelings for the hoodlum, for the ruffian, for the gunda, but the author was incapable of teaching him a lesson. Because of this reason, the author's anger or the author's fury towards Red is considered to be powerless or impotent. The last sentence of third unit is a short but powerful one. Yes, the last sentence of this unit is a game changer. I love that last sentence very much. It is because in the last sentence of this unit, we find a strong determination. In the author, there is a strong determination, and that is reflected in the last sentence. The determination to vanquish or defeat completely the menace, the villainy of the ruffian boy Red comes up, surfaces. In this line, we see the first light of transformation. In my last 2 units, I am giving much stress that this topic, this prose piece, deals a transformation from weakness to strength. And this idea of transformation shows its color for the first time in the last sentence of Unit 3. In this line, we find the seeds of protest and the idea of standing up for oneself. Students, in this unit, we come across a few difficult or new words. I would like to deal them now one by one. It will greatly help building your vocabulary. The first word is exulted. It is the past tense of the word exult. Exult means to show great joy and excitement. Remember, mindfully listen, exult means to show great joy and excitement, and exulted is the past tense of the verb exult. Please go to the line in the text where this word is used. The line is, by the next day, the whole street knew it by heart and exulted with triumphant hatred. This means the whole street knew it by heart and showed great joy and excitement. Let me give you a couple of model sentences using the word exulted. It will help you understand the word better. The first sentence is, they exulted at their victory. Simple sentence. They exulted at their victory. Students, please mark, I told you that they exulted at their victory. You can also write they exulted over their victory. Similarly, you can also say, or you can write, she exulted in her success. I gave you 3 sentences, but in all the 3 sentences, the prepositions are changed. In one sentence, I am using at, another sentence I have used over, and another sentence I have used in. And the use of these 3 prepositions with the word exult is correct, and the meaning is also almost same. So, interchangeably you can use these prepositions. My point, let me clear it once again, that you can use prepositions like at, over, in with the word exult. Now, the next word which is used in the text and needs some special explanation, that word is triumphant. This word triumphant means showing great joy or satisfaction. Let me give you some phrases which will help you learn the use of the word better. Remember these phrases also. If you remember these phrases, the word will be easy to memorize, or it will be memorable. But before that, let me give you some example sentences. You can say, he gave a triumphant smile. He made a triumphant return. This is a triumphant story. Please mark the phrases, the words that I have used with the word triumphant. In the first sentence, it was triumphant smile. In the second sentence, it was triumphant return. And in the third sentence, it was triumphant story. Yes, these words can collocate with the word triumphant. You can say triumphant smile. You can say triumphant return. You can say triumphant story. And let me use these phrases in some more meaningful sentences to make my point clear. The winner of Miss India contest gave a triumphant smile. Another sentence, she made a triumphant return to stage after several years working in television. Triumphant return, triumphant smile. And the next phrase that is used in the text is bore through. The literal or basic meaning of this phrase is to make a hole in something using a tool. For example, he used a drill to bore through the wall. Think this is a wall. Think this is a wall. And with the help of a drill, I am making a hole. Then I can say that he used a drill to bore through the wall. But this literal meaning, this meaning is extended when we say his eyes seemed to bore through me. Bore through means to make a hole using a tool. But when somebody says his eyes seemed to bore through me, then its meaning will be a bit different. His eyes seemed to bore through me. This sentence is taken from your textbook. In this context, the phrase bore through has a meaning which is equal to stare in a way, to look intently for a longer period that makes somebody feel uncomfortable. Means to stare in a way that makes somebody feel uncomfortable. It is also natural to say his blue eyes bore into her. His blue eyes bore through her. So, the word bore through means to stare in a way that makes somebody feel uncomfortable. The next important word is drawl, D-R-A-W-L, drawl. The meaning of the word is to say something slowly with longer vowel sounds. Let me demonstrate. Take an expression, slow down. The expression is slow down. Normally we will say, when we are using slow down, just like this we use the expression. But if we drawl, it will be slow down. Got my point? Normally we are using the word slow down as slow down. But if I speak those same words with a drawling voice, then it will be slow down. This is drawling. I remember somewhere I had seen a television ad of a car where the models used drawling to highlight their car's features. For example, in that TV ad, it is told stuffed with features. It is not just a car, it is a car. Again, I am enacting it. If you want to see the original TV ad, then please go to YouTube and you can find that TV ad which is on a car. There the last lines are like this: stuffed with features. It is not just a car, it is a car. So, this is a drawling sound. When you are making the vowel sound longer, it is a drawl. Now, let us move to the next important expression which is used in this chapter. The next important expression is impotent fury. Fury means anger and impotent means powerless. Hence, we can say impotent fury means powerless anger. Someone's anger which is of no use, that is powerless anger. In your textbook, its meaning is given as futile anger. It means the same thing. Let me give you an example sentence. The wife did not care her drunkard husband's impotent fury. The wife did not care her drunkard husband's impotent fury and decided to join in a job to stand on her own feet. Again, let me read that sentence. The wife did not care her drunkard husband's impotent fury and decided to join in a job to stand on her own feet. The next word is vanquish. Vanquish. Vanquish means defeat completely. Let me give you a couple of model sentences using the word vanquish. Napoleon was vanquished at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Napoleon was vanquished at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Similarly, another example I would like to give my lovely students. What is that? Government forces vanquished the protesters. Government forces vanquished the protesters. In both the sentences, you can mark that the meaning of the word vanquish is to defeat completely. Generally, this word vanquish is used in competitions and in the context of war. Vanquished can be used in relation to war or in relation to competitions, where the meaning is to defeat completely. Dear students, in your textbook, there are 8 questions given at the end of 3rd unit, appended to your 3rd unit of standing up for yourself. I will discuss a few questions, and the rest questions are home tasks for you. I will not complete all the questions. I will not explain the answers of all the questions, because some task has to be undertaken by you. The first question is, what was the first thing the narrator did to overcome his fear of red? Please go through the question. What was the first thing the narrator did to overcome his fear of red? To find its answer, students, please refer the first line of the third unit. It is mentioned there, I wanted to conquer my fear of red, so I wrote a poem about him. This is the first line, and in this first line you have the answer. Now frame your answer basing on the information which you get from this line. You can write, the narrator wrote a poem about red to overcome his fear of red. Yes, this is the answer. The narrator wrote a poem about red to overcome his fear of red. This is the pinpointed answer. However, if you like, you can add this journalistic expression in verse. It means the poem. This journalistic expression in verse form was the first thing what the narrator did to overcome his fear of red. This is an extra addition. If you like, then you can add. If you don't like also, you don't add. Just write this much. The narrator wrote a poem about red to overcome his fear of red. This much is the answer. But if you want to add some extra things, you can write like this. That poem was the first journalistic expression of the writer, and this was the first thing what he did to overcome his fear for red. Then let us move to the second question. The second question is, how did the people in the street respond to the poem? How did the people in the street respond to the poem? The answer to this question is specified in the last sentence of first paragraph of the unit under discussion. Please go to the last sentence of first paragraph of this unit. There you will find that it is written, by the next day the whole street knew it by heart and exulted with triumphant hatred. This line contains the answer. Read this line once again. By the next day, the whole street knew it by heart and exulted with triumphant hatred. This line no doubt contains the answer, but you are required to write in your own words. During our discussion, I have given explanation of almost all the important phrases used in this line. Using that, remembering those things, you can use the equivalent terms or words and can write your own answer. Don't copy. For example, you can write, the people in the street loved the poem very much. In very easy language, I am writing the answer. I would suggest to write the answer. The people in the street loved the poem very much and learnt it by heart. They showed great joy and excitement in expressing their triumphant hatred through the poem. They showed great joy and excitement in expressing their triumphant hatred through the poem. Please note that in the answer, I use the exact phrase triumphant hatred, which is provided in the text. I did not use any substitute for the expression. I have taken the exact words from the text, but I must put that expression or expressions in inverted comma to make my answer authentic. I want to suggest my students that if you are using the exact wordings, a part of exact wordings from the text, then put that in inverted comma. So, your answer will be authentic. Now, let us move to the third question. The third question is, explain the expression triumphant hatred. Explain the expression triumphant hatred. The word triumphant denotes the joy of victory. Remember it. Triumphant denotes the joy of victory. Triumphant hatred means hatred that got victory over fear. Hatred that got victory over fear is triumphant hatred. It means fear could no longer suppress that hatred and it got expressed, it got exploded, overcoming the restrictions of fear, overcoming the inhibitions of fear, overcoming the chains of fear. Hatred that got expressed, overcoming the checks of fear, overcoming the inhibitions of fear, that is triumphant hatred. So, you can write your answer using this type of explanation. Now, let us come to the fourth question. The fourth question is, how did Red snare the writer? How did Red snare the writer? The second paragraph of the third unit contains the answer to this question. In the said paragraph, it is written, one morning on my way to school, I suddenly came upon Red and his lieutenants. His eyes seemed to bore through me. Ah, the poet, he drawled, smiling crookedly. So, you write verses, do they rhyme? So, this is the part of the text which contains the answer to question number 4. Red mocked the writer with a crooked smile and a drawling voice. You can write the answer like this. Red mocked the writer with a crooked smile and a drawling voice. He wanted to demoralize the writer by asking whether his verses rhyme or not. In this way, Red snared the writer. This can be the answer. Let me explain it once again. Red mocked the writer with a crooked smile and a drawling voice. He wanted to demoralize the writer by asking whether his verses rhyme or not. In this way, Red snared the writer. Students, the rest questions are home task for you. Thank you very much for attending this class. All the best in your study life. Thank you.